Hey, how y'all doing? It's Sharonda, and hey, how y'all doing? And today I am here to give some quick bookish thoughts. So let's get into this thing, shall we? All right. So my thoughts will be on At the Right Time by Tina Martin. This is book 9 in her Champion Brothers series. Now, do I, as reader, believe that you have to read the other books in the series to enjoy this one? No. This is my first time delving into the series. I was scrolling through my Amazon Kindle library looking for something quick, short and quick to read. And this is just one of the books that popped up in this cover. Okay, I was like, oh, okay, Zaddy, the Zaddy, you know what I'm saying, on the cover. So I was like, all right, let's see what's going on here. And then I read the blurb. And this book does involve an older couple, all right? It is being told from both their point of views, but I feel like we got more of the female main character's POV inside of this book. So in this book, we have Florence, who is 62 years old, and she is just, living her life. She's retired. She has great relationship with her kids. You know what I'm saying? Her baby daddy, she don't F around with too much. But she's just having a good time with her kids and stuff. And her kids are like, they're older, they're all getting, they're all married off, whatever. And they're at the point where they want to see their mom happy. And that includes, getting her to go back out into the dating world. But Florence is very resistant to that. Her and her baby daddy ain't worked out. The man gave her a hard time. He wasn't shit, y'all. He was sticking it where he wasn't supposed to be sticking it, okay? So just did not work out, you know what I'm saying? So Florence is kind of like hesitant to go into like any type of romantic relationships. At this point in time, she feels like she is okay, with having no one in her life. I feel like as a reader, she was in the mind frame of, what, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Either way, I'm going to be okay. But her kids wanted more for her, which I thought that was a great perspective to put inside of the book. Like seeing these older, these adult kids want to see their mom happy, want to see their mom with somebody, you know what I mean? So her oldest son, Mordecai, decides to set her up on a blind date. Florence ain't having it, okay? Florence is just like, no, I'm not doing it. And, he's just like, come on, Mom. And she's just like, no. But his sister ends up, after she gets home and she has a conversation with her daughter, and, Florence is just like, you know what? I will humor y'all this one time. I will go out on this blind date since y'all think I need somebody so bad, you know what I'm saying? But I love like how her kids were just saying like, it's not that we're saying that you need a man or anything like that, because you don't. But we just want you to be like how we are, how we have found our life mates and we are happy and being loved on by our life mates. This is something that we want to see that our mom accomplish as well. That's all it was. But Florence is just like, But anyway, excuse me, but anyway. So she ends up going out on this date, child. And listen, soon as the fish put herself back in the water, she gets stood up, okay? And she is pissed. But she decides to just stay in a restaurant and enjoy her night. So this is where she meets Randolph. Florence knows Randolph. They all know each other in like this little city town or whatever. And, they kind of like hit it off or whatever. He comes over, he sees her there, and he's, she ends up telling him like, her oldest son set up on this date or whatever. She ends up getting stood up. And, Randolph is just like, you know what? His loss. You know what? I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to, so not to make it seem like you're desperate or anything like that, but I'm gonna sit here and just give you some company, you know what I'm saying? And they end up having a nice night together, so much so that they decide to go out on a second date. And again, the story goes from there. So the chemistry between Florence and Randolph was really sweet. This was really just like a really sweet story. Like I really just loved the author's perspective of like these two older people kind of like find in love again, you know what I'm saying? Like when most people at their age, you know, probably feel like they won't, you know, I'm just like, I'm settled, I'm good, I'm done, you know, or whatever. But you know, stranger things have happened, you know what I mean? But these two just kind of like hit it off, you know. They go out on a couple of dates or whatever. They go out on a couple of dates or whatever, and you know, they just hitting it off. They're getting to know one another and things like that, and they're enjoying each other time or whatever. But like I said, Florence does have her walls up because of the past relationship that she had with her baby daddy. You know, it was just like, it just didn't work out. So she's very cautious about, if she does decide to go into a romantic relationship, is she going to get hurt again? And that was another thing I love, that the author, you know, broached that subject, especially with Florence being an older woman, because I feel like a lot of people feel like, you know, if you're a person, you know, that's up in age, you don't really care, you know, like you ain't really thinking about all of that. But it's like, I'm glad that she kind of like had the discussion in the book, because I think it was only right for Florence to have those feelings, you know, within her. Like, if I go further with this, what is going to happen? Like, is this man going to break my heart like that man did? You know what I'm saying? And I think it would be kind of like crazy to kind of like, well, you're this age, why are you so concerned like that? Like, that's crazy. But I think it was valid for Florence to have those feelings. And, you know, this kind of like halts her relationship with Randolph, right? Because they're hitting it off. You know, the kids done found out Randolph is very much interested in Florence. He's very much attracted to her, but he does understand that he's getting the idea that, you know, she has these walls up or whatever. So he's not really pushing it. So one day they kind of like have this intimate moment or whatever, and that scares Florence off, whatever, and she kind of like just calls it off. And I was just like, no, Florence, don't do that. But she does. And when she gets home, she's telling her daughter about it. And, you know, her daughter's just like, you know, maybe, you know, her daughter's just kind of like, you know, maybe you should like rethink it or whatever. But the daughter does end up slipping up and telling her kind of like how Randolph really ended up in the restaurant that night. And Florence is pissed. Okay, she is pissed. So she heads over to Mordecai's house, her oldest son's house, and she's like ready to cuss him out, because it's just like, you know, mind your business, you know what I mean? Like, you know, because sometimes it's true, you know what I'm saying? Like, I do that with my kids sometimes too. Like, you know what, you're doing too much, like, back up. You know what I'm saying? You know how sometimes you get stay out of grown folks' business or whatever. But I loved the conversation that Mordecai had with her. And I'm just gonna read two of the lines, because I thought this was just like the sweetest thing that a son can say to his mother. I was just like, oh my God. But anyway, so, you know, she's about ready to lay into him, like, you know, what's up? Like, he says to her, he says, "It's your time, mother," he said, purposely cutting her off. "I'm not going to allow you to live with regrets. It's time for you to finally experience love and know what it feels like. I don't want you sitting on the sideline living through us." And she's about to go off again. And this is, and he says something, I'm just going to give you part of the other line. But he says to her, "You should never allow someone to influence your life in such a negative way that you forgo your God-given right to happiness." I was like, come on, son. I love that he told her that, because Florence was hurt by her ex. And that, like I said earlier, that made her put up these walls. She wasn't really willing to explore being happy with someone else, even though it was very obvious that Randolph wanted a happy, you know, a happily ever after with Florence, even at their ages. But she was just like, no, I don't want to get hurt again. You know what I mean? I don't want that again. But I'm so, I was just like, okay, Miss Martin, okay. I'm so glad she put that inside the book, because I was like, yes. But, you know, that kind of gets her to like thinking and stuff like that. You know, she thanks Mordecai for like having this conversation with her and, you know, and telling her these things. And it does put, you know, a different perspective in her head on how to approach Randolph, whatever. And we really don't get any drama in this story, you know what I'm saying? Like, even though Florence was kind of like willing to put Randolph off, you know, in the name of saving her, you know, what she thought would be hurt feelings, she does reaches back out to him, actually goes to his house and, you know, have a conversation with him. And she ends up telling him like, hey, I am sorry. I got scared, you know what I'm saying? My ex hurt me real bad. And, you know, I just ran, and I'm sorry for that. And I love that Randolph just forgave her. And, you know, and pretty much told her like, yeah, our ages, you know, girl, I ain't out here trying to be no hoe or no tramp or, you know, no player in the streets or whatever. What you're afraid of, I'm not going to do for you. Like, I want us to explore this further, and I want us to have some semblance of a relationship. Like, I'm too old for that. Like, and I love that he told her, like, he was married before, and he pretty much told her, like, you know, in all the years I was married to my ex-wife, I never stepped out on her. Me and my ex-wife did not make it because in his own way, Randolph was selfish. You know, he realized after his ex-wife left him that all this woman wanted was him to spend more time with her. But at that point, he was in his I gotta make this money mind frame, and, you know, not realizing that he could do both. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, that was that. But he says this to her, and I love that he says that. He says, the kind of love, black love, that our ancestors had when they were sticking together through adversities and fighting for their rights, is a loyal love. It's a love that means something more than just words. And I was like, okay, Randolph, win that lady over, okay? But I love that, you know, he didn't hold anything against her. He understood that he understood the place that she was coming from. And yeah, you know, it's just like, it's like butter, baby. They back together. And I enjoyed that. I really did enjoy this book. Like I said, it's a really sweet, just a really sweet romance. Just seeing this couple, you know, that are up in, you know, these people that are up in age, just finding ways, you know, fighting through whatever, especially on Florence, and fighting through whatever, you know, walls that she has up to finally be with somebody that actually, you know, that loves her, is willing to put in the time with her and stuff like that. And I love that her kids were just like, Mom, we want you to be happy, and listen, go get this man, okay? You know what I'm saying? Because if he's a good dude, and, you know, he's willing to work this out with you, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, go be happy. Like, I love that her kids were very much behind her and in assisting her and finding her her happily ever after, okay? And yeah, the book just kind of like ends from there. We do get a happily ever after between Florence and Randolph. It was just a really cute, sweet read. The spice is like on a low level because we really don't get a sex scene between Randolph and Florence until like the epilogue, because they get married, and then, you know, it was kind of like a bonus scene. They got married in the epilogue. We have their wedding in the epilogue, and then we have like the bonus scene where they on their honeymoon or whatever. So the heat in this book is really on low, you know, it's set on low. And I think the author did that on purpose, because for most of this book we are really just seeing like this really cute kind of like meet up between these two people, these two older people that are just finding, their, refinding their way to love and happily after their happily ever afters in their silver years. You know what I mean? And I love that. So if you're so interested, check out At the Right Time by Tina Martin. I liked it, and I highly recommend it, especially if you're just looking for like sweet, non-problematic love stories. This is definitely a good book to check out. So that is it for me, and until the next one, later days. Bye.